Shall we begin?
Why don't you give me half the money you were going to bet, and we'll go out back. I'll kick you in the nuts, and we'll call it a day.
In your face, Milwaukee! I always love that one. What's on now? It is the 9 to noon radio show at FM 100.3 KFAN. Good morning.
Hello, you're on the air.
Courtesy of TimberTech and TimberTech.com. What's on deck 9 to noon today includes some more Minnesota Timberwolves-related conversation and some football at the end with beloved YA. And I'm Paul Allen. Good morning. Very happy to be joined by Dane Moore of the Dane Moore podcast at Dane Moore NBA via the tweet machine, and back from out Denver way after witnessing all that Timberwolves domination and with absolutely no regard for whatever distraction would befall them. And those distractions included not having Daddy Gobert for Game 2, and they crushed. Here comes Dane and at Dane Moore NBA, where you can learn more about appearances coming up and also his podcast. The way they've played defense and the funnel to Rudy Gobert during the Suns and first game of the Nuggets series, while he roams by the basket, losing that Monday or feeling they wouldn't have it Monday, then they didn't have it. I don't know about you, man, but I thought they were in some trouble. And good morning. What about you?
What's up, PA? Good morning to you, too. Yeah, I thought they had no chance in Game 2. And it's because they haven't had any way to guard Nikola Jokic this year unless it was with both Cat and Rudy out there, right? PA, we've talked about this before, how the Wolves like to guard Jokic is they like to put Cat on him, but Rudy's right back there, right behind him at the rim, leaving Aaron Gordon, ignoring him, right, letting him shoot. And that's really been the only way that this team has been able to check Nikola Jokic for, 2 seasons.
Right.
Then, boom, out of nowhere, I don't know. Cat stood him up the whole time. Nas was the one that was crazy to me because it looked like Nas, after losing like 50 pounds, like Nikola Jokic probably wasn't a good matchup for him. But then it was crazy. On Monday, he locks him up too. So defensive culture, man. That's what it is. It's, And I think, as Finch said after the game, that started with Rudy.
Do you think it's like Minnesota sports mentality or human nature where, something like that transpires and immediately we go to the, okay, you said no chance. I'm like, wow, this sucks. They're going to be in a lot of trouble. And then you see a Nugget streak down the lane for an easy 2 early, and I look at my group watching the game, and I'm like, oh, that's great. That's great. It's just, it's human nature to, feel it that way, right?
Yeah, I don't know. There's probably a Minnesota arthritis element to that, too. But at the same time, it was the Denver Nuggets in Denver in a situation that they needed to be desperate to win, or their season, would be in serious jeopardy. And really their kind of whole dynasty or potential dynasty, was in jeopardy in the series, right? I think there's a lot of people out there, or it was reasonable to think that, Jokic and Murray and this little squad is, had trappings on being the new sort of San Antonio Spurs. And I kind of thought, I was kind of bought into that. And now the Wolves are just like, nope, that was premature. Right. So I'm moving with everybody else, man. We're learning.
Well, that's so beautifully laid out. The general manager's construction of the team to be able to handle Denver is proving masterful. I mean, when healthy, of course, but to have Jokic this discombobulated is something few, if any, saw coming, right?
Yeah, for sure, because it's not like this is the first time Jokic has been, like, double-teamed. You know what I'm saying? Like, every team is throwing everything they have at Nikola Jokic whenever they're playing him. But this team, in many ways, I do agree when people say, like, it seems like this team was built to contend with or beat the Nuggets, because you can't just guard Jokic. You can't even really guard Jokic because he'll just pick you apart if you try and double team him, pick you apart with just two guys. You need two, like, 7-foot guys on Jokic to actually get to the discombobulation level that we're seeing here. It's just having this roster construction, I think, might be the only way to really slow him down.
Jamal Murray, I mean, clearly a super stock, and you were there for both games in Denver, so you saw it, man. He probably he has a bad calf, and it probably is impacting certain facets of his game, and it's clear Nori Finch are attacking the bad calf and putting it in compromising positions, which, if he plays, is absolutely what you're supposed to do. He can't get around Edwards. He can't get around McDaniels. And even Nikhil is shutting him down. Is there, with Jamal Murray, is there any chance he goes off Friday night?
I mean, we always got to give him his respect, right? And he is the playoff player that has consistently stepped up since the bubble. So you don't want to rule that out. But to your point with the calf, I think that's the question.
Yeah.
Is like, can he even get to that level right now? And, some people are referencing some of the shots he made in the Lakers series, which were impressive. But broadly, Murray did not play well in the Lakers series either. Like, he's been dealing with this for a while.
Right.
And so if he didn't play that well in the Lakers series when he was being guarded by Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell,
Jeez.
and now you got to come out and you're being checked by Jaden McDaniels and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, like, and that's 48 minutes of hell. I don't care if you're healthy. That is, I think, as hard of a point of attack defensive situation as you can find yourself at in the NBA right now, maybe other than like Drew Holiday and Derek White in Boston. But Jaden and Nickeil, man, I put Nickeil way ahead of Ant too in that calculation, and that's not even to take it away from Ant.
Yeah,
Nickeil is just as good as it gets, I think.
Many are, this is a social media related take, so maybe many is not the right way to look at it, Dane, but there are a fair amount upset Murray isn't suspended for throwing the heating pad onto the court. All right, I'm not here to debate Adam Silver whether he should have been suspended or not, or the 100K was cool. The way he's playing, shouldn't you want Jamal Murray out there and not suspended?
I don't know about that, man, because they have no bench. So Reggie Jackson, who would start at point guard, he rolled his ankle in that game. Mm-hmm. I mean, Julian Strother, who $50 if you know who that is, could maybe be the next point guard in the rotation there. So
yeah,
Jamal Murray, I think, still helps them there. But I think this is an important piece of context. PA, I went in the locker room after the game. I asked Kyle Anderson if the heat pack hit him that he threw, because it kind of looked like, if you Zapruder the film, that it hit Kyle and bounced off and then wound up under Cat's feet. And Kyle said he didn't think it hit him. So I think that's a little bit better. And I say that just to mean that the players weren't angry at Jamal in the locker room after the game. They were more talking about how they didn't understand why Mike Malone didn't get a tech for going, chest to chest with Mark Davis when he seemed like he was begging for a tech.
Unbelievable.
That was a little weird.
Right.
But I don't think there's a real Murray, real anger from the players at Murray about throwing that on the floor. But at the same time, they might not even have understood what was all happening at that point in time.
Dane, are the champs utterly and thoroughly done, and a sweep is on the horizon?
Nah, man, come on. We don't have to get ahead of ourselves, right? It's 2-0. Just play it. Just play it one at a time. Here's the thing. Jokic can still take over. Like, Jokic can still give you 50 on like 16 of 20 shooting. And if he does that, which he has done to the Wolves as recently as like 3 weeks ago, you don't even need all of Jamal Murray or Michael Porter Jr. or Aaron Gordon. Like, yes, they defended Nikola Jokic very, very well in that game. But I don't think that dude's just ready to wave the white flag here. And until he's done, they're not done. So you still got to take care of business.
Yeah,
you got to take care of business.
I agree, but if you now, granted, they became relegated to using Aaron Gordon like running point AG, because of maybe Jamal's calf, and then Reggie turns his ankle. But I mean, the level of panic that you saw live when you got Michael Porter Jr. super early in the shot clock, just hoisting up these ridiculous threes. It's okay. Jokic and the trustability there is a 10 out of 10. But he also is plotting and looks like I said earlier, he's discombobulated. His box scores can be terrific. He ain't the same right now. And I'm just wondering, like, how and or why is the totality or the collective nature of the champions, how's that just going to flip starting Friday?
Yeah, I think that's a good question, PA. It does kind of feel like one of those situations where there's maybe more going on internally over there than we know, right? Do you get that vibe?
Yes.
I mean, and I don't really know anything. I know they're a little banged up, right? But it's just, I don't think it should have been that big of a fire that got started in the first half when they got a little bit frustrated, and like Jamal Murray doing what he did, Malone doing that, just the kind of the overall vibe. It just feels like a team that entered this series almost with an anxiety, and then the Wolves just sort of jumped on it there. But yeah, if you and I are talking a week from now, and the Wolves have swept them, it's because they do have them discombobulated, and they are on a completely different level. I'm just like, I think the Wolves are going to win the series. Don't get me wrong, but like, I don't know if we've seen the last of the Nuggets. I think this is a prideful team, and I still think they got a lot. I think they got a lot to offer, and maybe an adjustment or two that we're not quite ready for.
Understood, and I respect that take. Dane Moore at Dane Moore NBA. Now, the Dane Moore podcast, which I've said before is fantastic, is coming up Thursday and Saturday at Minneapolis and St. Paul spots. Now, tomorrow night at 6. You're at Falling Knife on Harding in Minneapolis, and Sunday at Dual Citizen Brewing in St. Paul. So with these happy hours and the podcast and everything, what are these events like, Dane?
Well, yeah, it's just like it's just fun to get people together to do this. I mean, these are places. I mean, Falling Knife I've worked with for a couple of years because they just wanted to be the Wolves bar or a Wolves bar because there weren't any. I mean, that's. A few years ago, nobody was going out anywhere to watch Wolves games ever. There wasn't a place. And so we tried to kind of work together to make something happen. And it has, there's been hundreds and hundreds of people watching Wolves games inside, outside at Falling Knife. And it's just been cool, man. I've always, I grew up playing basketball here, and I love the basketball community. And I was always a bit sad that the Timberwolves didn't seem to have any overlap over that. I mean, people here love hoops. And it's really cool this year to see that greater basketball community here latching onto the Timberwolves. So, yeah, at these events, we're just trying to hang out,
Yeah.
Get everybody together, get excited because it's been 20 years.
So if there are any Love Covenant dwellers listening right now interested in, say, the Falling Knife in Northeast tomorrow at 6 or Dual Citizen Brewing in St. Paul Saturday, would you suggest they arrive early? I mean, does it get super crowded?
So we're actually going to be outside. It has been super crowded when we've been inside in the tap rooms because normally, we're doing a basketball podcast. It's the winter time, but the Wolves are playing into the spring, so we're going to be outside. So we'll have a little bit more space. So if you've been there before to one of these shows and it's been too jammed, we're doing everything we can to get people there because again, we just kind of want it to be like a block party, and me and Kyle and Britt we'll take a bunch of questions, we'll play some games and all that sort of stuff, but just kind of hang out as a Wolves, the Wolves greater community, I guess.
So 20 years ago, I mean, I'm assuming that you remember, or maybe you were there, depending on how old you were, but like Block E, when we had MB3 with KG and Spree and Sam Cassell. I mean, Block E, when it was like GameWorks and Bellinote and stuff, I mean, it was on fire for those playoff series. The band Boogie Wonderland, a friend of mine, Heidi, goes by the stage name Chrissy Love. You know, she was singing, and so you're right. I mean, it's if it's good and people want to come to Minneapolis for a game, then events like this, or like back in the Block E days, man, that was unbelievable, wasn't it?
Good GameWorks recall there, man. I remember that. There's the big GameWorks sign right over head of right there. Yes. But this is kind of fitting, right? Like, they tried to make Block E happen back then and the Skyway, and, you know, like, didn't really happen anymore, but here we are. It's the 2020s, and we're hanging out at breweries. I think that's a logical progression, right?
At Dane Moore NBA, great place to learn more about the podcast appearances and stuff beginning tomorrow. Very, very grateful. We've had Dane on the last several months discussing the Minnesota Timberwolves, and Rudy Gobert wins Defensive Player of the Year. So just quick Twitch defensive question about defense. Better defensive player and why? Gobert or Wembanyama?
Gobert, because of what he allows the other four players around him to do. Why this team is terrific defensively, I think, is not because of Rudy at the rim. It's because of Rudy's presence at the rim and what it allows guys like Jaden McDaniels and Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Mike Conley and Anthony Edwards do from a ball pressure standpoint. Like, I know there's probably a lot of people out there who are listening to your show, and if they watch an NBA game, the only games they watch are the Minnesota Timberwolves. Well, I think what's so cool about watching the Wolves right now is you turn on any other NBA game right now, nobody else plays ball pressure defense in the league like the Minnesota Timberwolves do. And they could do that because Rudy Gobert is back at the rim. I said the other day, they're the antithesis of the, nobody guards in the NBA cliche, right? Like, this team guards. You turn on a game, you can't deny that. And the reason they can do that is because Rudy can take care of so much at the rim that it lets those other four guys go out and be crazy like they were on that Jamal Murray clip that everybody saw, circulating over the weekend. Like, that Rudy can do that, has the smarts and the intellect and the communication ability that he does, it just puts him on a different level than Wembanyama, even if Wembanyama can do more things defensively with the wingspan and maybe all that sort of stuff. But, dude, this is one of the best defensive teams, not just in the NBA this season. This is one of the best defensive teams in NBA history.
Right.
And this team and this organization has sucked at defense forever. Man, Carl, first 7 years in his career, bottom 10 defenses. Rudy comes in, they're 8th last year. Rudy gets a year with this group under his belt, and they're 1. Like, Finch deserves some credit here, too. None of any of this, of getting to the playoffs, was even possible without Rudy Gobert. Now Ant's taking the flag, and he's running, and he's the leader of this right now. But to get to this position, man, Pierre, I really think it was Rudy, dude. Like, without Rudy, none of this is happening right now. And obviously that starts on the defensive side of the floor. So absolutely deserving Defensive Player of the Year.
Who does Jace Frederick like tonight? The Pacers or the Knicks?
Oh, no, Jace loves the Knicks, man. He's obsessed with Tibbs playing everybody 48 minutes.
Right. I know, and I've been thinking that for a little while. That now Mitchell Robinson's down, so Hartenstein's going to play more, and Tibbs just is squeezing every bit of metaphorical blood out of this proverbial turnip, and it's working. And you got Halliburton, man. I mean, you talk about Jamal Murray playing hurt. Halliburton with that back must be playing significantly hurt. My man only shot it 6 times in game 1, and that loss to the Knicks. That's crazy.
Yep. Yeah, man. I mean, the Knicks are another one of those ball pressure teams, too. I mean, because you can't play on Tibbs' team if you don't, right?
Right.
And I think they've been fun to watch. And that's such a Tibbs thing, right? Is to continue to win, even though you have all these injuries. Julius Randle, obviously, from the start. Like what Tibbs would always say to us when we'd ask him about playing without Carl or whoever, he would always say, "We have more than enough to win," you know. And I really believe that dude believes that, and it's fun to watch those type of teams who kind of, you know, are the physical manifestation of the way that the coach coaches. I don't know. I think there's something cool about that, you know, even though, I don't know, do people still not like Tibbs here in Minnesota? I know everybody doesn't like Jimmy. People still hate Tibbs in Minnesota. I don't know. I respect the hell out of him as a coach.
How about last one here, Dane, at Dane Moore NBA via the X Machine. How about OKC last night? I mean, way too fast for these Dallas Mavericks. And I'm not saying Luka and Kyrie cannot even the ledger, which they can. And I loved how they played the final month and a half of the year. It was agenda-free basketball. But, man, and watching that thing last night in the second quarter when they grabbed that 10-point lead, I mean, they blew by those veterans like they were tied to a post. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing, PA, man. These young kids aren't messing around. Like, on Oklahoma City and the Timberwolves, like, you know, like Ant has respect for the OGs like KD and stuff like that. We talked about that at length last round. But these guys in Oklahoma City and Minnesota, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, like nobody's scared. None of them are scared. Jaden McDaniels isn't scared. Anthony Edwards isn't scared. Like this new group of guys who are all, I think Shai's 25, J-Dub's like 23 maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I just, they're just ready to take this thing over, and they are, right? Like they got Luka and Kyrie ahead of them, and the Wolves got Jokic, and then we're going to be out of superstars, and we're just going to have the Timberwolves and the Thunder left in the playoffs, and it's just going to be a bunch of hungry 25-year-olds who are really well coached. That Thunder team's no joke, man. They got that belief, right? We're really seeing the belief the Wolves have in the playoffs. If you can replace bickering and all that sort of stuff with belief, you're just a different level team. And the Oklahoma City Thunder have been that all year.
And see, and it hasn't even, you know, taken place yet. You know, the Wolves lead 2-0. Oklahoma City blew out Dallas last night, but so did the Clippers game one against Luka and Kyrie. But I do believe OKC will win. I'm just listening to you. I think you believe they'll advance. You believe the Wolves will advance. I absolutely do. And it's like you on Monday with Rudy Gobert, where it's like, too much wind and he can't fly in, and Daddy Gobert, and they have no chance. Well, with me, I'm starting to trip right now on what I saw with Lou Dort. Lou Dort on Anthony Edwards during the course of the year, where there was just like an inherent feeling. Now, granted, it's regular season, and the Timberwolves have elevated everything. But like when I would watch Dort match up with Edwards, I was thinking Dort was like, I'm as strong as you, I'm as fast as you, and I'm not afraid of you. And like he did a really good job on Ant sometimes. You know what I mean?
No, I think that's a good IPA. I think that is the like archetype of defender who's probably gives Ant the most resistance, right? Like I always say, Dort looks like a moving like fire hydrant. Like you just if you kick him, it's going to hurt you more than he gets hurt. And he's just, that's his job too, right? Is just to, if it does end up being Thunder Wolves at some point, he's entering that series with, one thing on his whiteboard, and it's Anthony Edwards.
Right.
And I like the question I think is against these more physical defenders is, does Ant have the speed to go around them? Like, I thought Aaron Gordon is kind of that, too, in this series. I thought it was important. I kind of still think it is important for Denver to put Aaron Gordon on Ant, because I just do think Ant is at the point where you just got to guard him with size. The question is, though, if you put size on him, can you move that size? Can Aaron Gordon, does he have the foot speed? And thus far, it doesn't look like he does. Dort's faster, laterally he's faster. He's about as good as it gets, or as fast as it gets for that heavy, strong defender to move with him. So yeah, that's a big part of if we get there.
Yeah,
if we get there,
right.
The Wolves Thunder series is Lou Dort guarding Anthony Edwards.
Loved the podcast. I watched or listened to yesterday, and with your co-host Kyle.
Watch your language in front of the lady, punk.
Dane, thank you very much, and we will chat next week. Okay.
Yeah, man, appreciate you.
Yeah, for sure, and good luck with Thursday and Saturday, Minneapolis and St. Paul. That's Dane Moore. At Dane Moore NBA, very smart basketball mind. And you can learn more about that podcast again at Dane Moore NBA. Good morning. It's 9 to noon. This is your cash thing leader. This is your Timber Tech What's on Deck leader. And this is your Howl Stories for Kids later, which is around the corner. And here's the producer with the cash thing.
The Fan and BigDeck.com, they want to give you a chance to put $1,000 in your hand with the National Cash Contest. Go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword cash. You might win $1,000. Keyword is cash, KFAN.com.
Wolves fans down and howling with the homies. Let's get it. 16-0, let's go. Wolves in 4.
Hey, PA and Nordo. This is Jeremy from Lino. I was thinking the Timberwolves on Friday, they need to do their version of Chuck a Puck and do a hurl a heat bag at halftime.
Yes. Thank you to the Talkbacks free iHeartRadio app. One more thing before I get to a story. Yeah. Story time, 9 to noon, concerning the Howl.
Yeah.
I want you to hear this from Stephen A. yesterday morning.
They put them brothers under lock and key.
Yeah.
That's what I saw last night.
Yes.
Denver couldn't do nothing. I ain't seen defense played like that in more than 35, in damn near 35 years. That's how much lock and key Denver was on. It was like that. And I'm willing to say this right now. Damn it. Give my man Big Perk some credit. He talked about Minnesota going to the finals and all of this other stuff. I think that the Denver Nuggets are on the verge of getting swept.
Hey.
I never thought in my wildest dreams that I'd be able to say that. I think the Denver Nuggets are on the verge of getting swept. And I believe that the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to win the world championship.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
I think they're going to win it all.
Wow.
I think they're going to win it all.
How about that? Stephen A. Smith from yesterday.
Yesterday, 9 to noon, it was shared, at least from my vantage point. It's the greatest defensive performance I can remember in the history of Timberwolves basketball. But after, whether it's NBA radio with some people I heard there, specifically Antonio Daniels, who played in the league for quite some time, or some things I saw on social media, there are well-respected NBA minds who are saying it's the greatest defensive performance they can remember game 2 at Denver. They can remember in the history of NBA playoff basketball. And think about it. It all comes without the NBA Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
It's just astounding.
I still think in some ways with that, there is a little bit of that kind of defense is so rare now that we are shocked by it.
No doubt.
And we should be shocked by it. But in the end, going back to I just felt like we were watching a game from 1993 on Monday night. And I absolutely loved it, where you're getting out of your chair at your house, fired up about that steal, that block, that rotation that was limiting the Nuggets the way they did game 2. Loved it. Game 3 on Friday. You want to jump to this, PA?
Yes, sir.
9 to noon presents Skull Stories for Kids.
So we've done this with the football team many, many times, PA. Skull Stories for Kids. But in the vein, second round of the playoffs for the first time in 20 years. It's Howl. Stories for kids 9 to noon. So let's get to it. Good morning, children.
Good morning.
It's time for a tale. A story where once in a millennia, the good guys prevail. It's the association where a secret cabal picks losers and winners. The referees like judges, subjectively distinguishing saints from sinners.
Hey!
In 2020, remember Daniel House and the COVID tester in the bubble? Rashawn Holmes, Lou Williams, and Catfish. I mean, it was a summer of trouble.
Nice.
But just prior to that, social distancing, malaise, you're stuck inside with Netflix. The draft would lend the Howl yield a howl, a generation-changing draft pick.
Wolves have made a selection, and there is the commissioner, Adam Silver, on his way to the podium.
With the first pick in the 2020 NBA Draft, the Minnesota Timberwolves select Anthony Edwards from the University of Georgia.
So Anthony Edwards with his mother and grandmother with him there in spirit. He knows which hat he can take out of that big box now, and it is the one that belongs to the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Idiots like me thought, with D'Lo now in the mix, take James Wiseman. Give him the hat. Need a true center. Maybe that'll free up and maximize the offense from Cat. I stick by the idea. I mean, after all, they eventually secured the services of Rudy. But man, good thing I'm not in charge, because that opinion was pure duty. Now entering the playoffs this year, feeling mostly good as a top 3 seed. A bit of fatalism in our hearts, matched with the Suns, one would concede. Lions and Tigers and Bears became Booker and Beal and Durant. But it was apparent early on that when it came to stopping our offense, they simply can't.
Inbound Edwards with it up top. And against Durant, stops, pull up on the 3. Got it again! It's his quarter! It's 31 for Edwards! 21 here in the third!
We've all seen really ugly cry faces before, but Devin Booker's takes the cake. Born to be a meme with the mannerisms and poor me gestures he would make. Considering what's at stake, it was amusing seeing a hero become a heel. While the big 3 had absolutely no answer for the unheralded Nikhil.
And is at 28 points, not 31. He's well on his way, but he's not there yet. Nikhil up top. Here's Ant. Back to Nikhil in the corner, fires on the 3 and strokes it. With 2.2 seconds left to go in the third, inbound Royce O'Neal. He'll take a run at a half-court shot. It's way over the backboard and out of play. What a run to finish the third.
Bradley's pouting on the bench, unceremoniously fouling out. Durant looking his age for once, a Titan overcome with doubt. A team during the season that intimidated every Wolves fan in the room. In quick work with a whimper, quietly swept out the door with a broom.
Devin Booker through traffic, down the lane, runs up the shot. It's blocked. Anthony Edwards swats it away. Timberwolves control the loose ball. Conley will lob it up into the front court. Nikhil's got it. The horn sounds. The ball game is over. The series is over. For the first time in franchise history, the Timberwolves have swept a postseason series. They win it 4-0 over the Suns. For just the second time in franchise history, they're moving on to the second round. And it is just the third time in franchise history they've won a postseason series.
Wow.
122-116 is the final as the Timberwolves move on to the second round of the NBA playoffs.
To the second round go the Wolves for the first time in 20 years, and the fan base feverishly exorcising all past demons and fears. Thinking back to 2004, Sprewell and Cassell, the almost mythical KG. Fast forward, and we're lauding Cat, the Stifle Tower, and smiling AE. Anthony, or Ant, quickly becoming an icon in the lake-filled state. His nickname, surely a fitting one, as they carry up to 50 times their weight. Minnesota sports rested squarely on his shoulders in the national spotlight. Yet, to disappoint, he rolls into Mile High, dropping 43 on Saturday night.
And runs away from 2 defenders, is on the push, he's not being stopped, he goes right to the rim, he lays it in for 2 more, 43 for Anthony Edwards, 7-point Timberwolves lead. Gordon pops right side 3, it's online but off, and the Timberwolves have the rebound, and the Nuggets will not foul, shot clock is off, and the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to steal game 1 here in Denver.
It's the defending champs, kids. Unlike Phoenix, they can take a punch. And Joker's out there like the common man with the triple-double while eating his lunch. Porter Jr. blew up in the Lakers series, leading the way with the Shepherd staff. And Jamal Murray was daggering games on one leg due to his bum calf. But the Wolves were howling at the door, reciting a loud foreshadowing decree. You can shine your rings from last year, but you can't handle this suffocating D. Murray scoreless in the first half, Joker settling for more threes than they need, and in the fourth quarter, a hero emerges. Sixth man of the year, Naz Reid.
And still against Murray. Left side of the floor, one-on-one, top of the key, out to Naz. Catch and shoot three on the way at the buzzer. Oh, he banked it in! I don't know if he called it, but it's open on weekends for Naz Reid. 90, 87, 84. Here's Jokic down the baseline, out to KCP. He'll rise for the triplets off the iron. No, the rebound. Ant took it away from Christian Brown. Here's Ant on the push. He'll pull up straight away three off the back iron. No. Oh, slam follow Naz Reid. He came out of nowhere. An emphatic follow for Naz. The sixth man of the year has put the Wolves up by 5.
So our kid gets teed up for the most violent stare the world's ever seen, while the refs consider Jamal's finger guns at Cat as innocuous, almost serene. But game one goes to the road team. Mile High is stoned and stunned by Minnesota. No time to celebrate, though. The team didn't even give one half of one iota. The coach is in a cast. This orchestra is being directed by the maestro, Mike Inori. And the defensive theme of the year would only loom larger in this story, because the best player on the planet, a clutch sidekick leading the way in Denver City. We're about to find out a hard truth that the shot clock offers no pity.
Used up his dribble, fires it to the corner. And Watson fires at the buzzer. That's off the side of the backboard and a shot clock violation. And look at the reaction from Mike Conley. Just fist pumped, his whole body just tensing up, screaming. That was a terrific physical defensive possession.
Mike Malone shooting off the bench at the refs like a missile. It was clear in game two that there was an intent to swallow the whistles. They should have teed up Malone, and Jamal throwing the heat pad. He's lost his head. But they basically allowed the Wolves to physically dominate the Nuggets instead. Rudy couldn't play, chilling with his new baby and his gal at home. So it was Naz, Cat, Jaden, Nikhil making those guys look like lawn gnomes. The size was unmatched, forcing mistake after boneheaded mistake. The defending champions, so flustered, they mustered a measly 35 points at the break.
Brings him out to the perimeter right in front of us here. There's Murray on a drive against Naz, shoves off. Oh, Naz recovers, blocks the shot out of bounds, and then has some words for Jamal. What a play by Naz Reid.
Third quarter comes and goes. We're marveling at the lopsided score, with the building noise of MVP chants and even some Wolves in 4, Wolves in 4. The Ball Arena crowd happy to go home Monday night and wash off the funk of seeing that 22-year-old phenom throwing down a "what do you think of me now" dunk.
Jokic wants it up top. Naz all over him. Hand off to MPJ. Oh, he ran right into Mike, who took the ball away. Feeds it up to Ant. Breakaway. Showtime dunk for Anthony Edwards. A 28-point lead with 30 seconds left to go in the first half. The Ball Arena crowd is shell-shocked. The defending champs are shell-shocked.
It was over at half, but the game requires 24 minutes. Watching the seconds tick down, Denver's hearts, they weren't in it. Snatched from their chests and hurled from Pikes Peak. 2-0 for the Wolves. The fans are like, your team is tired and your town reeks.
The Timberwolves have come into Denver and stunned the defending champs, winning twice on their home floor. The horn sounds here at Ball Arena, and the Wolves lead the Nuggets 2-0. The Wolves have won 6 consecutive playoff games. They've won 4 in a row on the road.
Now home on Friday. Are we once again thinking sweep? We've sowed so many years of faithful letdowns. Are we ready to reap? 2 decades of discord. Here's some complimentary earplugs when you enter. I wonder, hey, I live in Chaska. Will I be able to hear the roar of Target Center? What a change of fortune as we stand above the remains of the Lakers, Clippers, Warriors, and Suns. Not a Cinderella, but we always yearn for those miraculous runs. It is rigged, many complain, those in charge falling well short of pious. But with Ant in the driver's seat, now many are saying, look at that mid-market bias.
That was another Skull Story for Kids.
Phenomenal. Menominee.
Judy Eby.
Howl Stories for Kids, not featuring
Judy Eby.
but a lot of fun, kids, and make sure you rest well into that Friday night tilt because the Minnesota Timberwolves, quite honestly, look like they're going to go up 3-0 on the Denver Nuggets, and we want you children to be well rested. Thank you, Nordo, and we will continue with the Mad Producer vibe around the corner with Vikes Bites on KFAN.
Vikes Bites.
Good morning. Welcome back, 9 to noon. It is indeed Vikes Bites. Vikes Bites Daily brought to you by Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef. You can hit the website. You can shop online. LifetimeGrazed.com, Thousand Hills LifetimeGrazed.com. Elite product. You can get a box shipped to your doorstep. Or your local Coburn's locations, local co-ops. Learn about regenerative agriculture and all of that. Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed. I love their stuff, and I believe that you will as well. I found this. This is actually, it's in some ways, it's kind of become Albert Breer bits, where, listen to this about something that we were talking about, PA, something that we thought of, maybe it was part of the mix, and now Kirk Cousins is gone. But a reason, according to Albert Breer, that he decided to leave Minnesota is the Vikings were very upfront about the possibility that if he stayed, even if he did, that they would take a quarterback of the future high in the draft. And that played into, and also a second year of guaranteed cash. I mean, the Vikings were not in a position to match what the Atlanta Falcons did. But tying that together with the fact that they weren't going to go all guarantees on the second year, Cousins figures, hey, if he stayed, there's a good shot that he would just be here for one more season and then he'd be on the move anyway. So he goes to the Atlanta Falcons and he signs that big deal. And they give him maybe sometime in the next couple of years we're thinking about it. Like it's on the to-do list, Kirk, okay? But you're our guy. And then they take Michael Penix, 8th overall, and well, he's a little stung by that, maybe a little stunned. But Albert Breer bits continue. So Kirk Cousins goes, enter J.J. McCarthy. Love him, excited to see him during Vikings rookie minicamp this weekend. Also, according to Albert Breer, this thing just won't go away, PA. Head coach Sean Payton, I think this was Monday, and the rest of Denver's front office. How about this? Their draft board. Every team has a draft board. I don't know how under lock and key or what they do to protect this information valuable. But Albert Breer says Sean Payton and the rest of Denver's front office had the quarterbacks in 2024 listed in no particular order on their board
above average at that,
in order to prevent any sort of bias in discussion and also simply to keep the secret. Nick's available, of course, at pick 12. And Nick's pro day performance was enough to sway Payton, who told general manager George Payton, I really like this guy, after he heard from college director Brian Stark and area scout David Bratton about their experiences with the quarterback. Again, that's per Albert Breer. Pre-draft plan for selecting Nick's was a success, PA.
Yes!
And now he'll attempt to win the starting job as a rookie and establish himself as Denver's franchise quarterback moving forward. But there's more, PA. This from Jeremy Fowler. And you can go, if you're an ESPN insider, you pay the ESPN Plus bit, and you get all the insider access. You could have found this. Draft intel from all 32 teams. So this from ESPN's Jeremy Fowler. So Breer bits, Sean Payton, they fooled us. All of their quarterbacks listed in the draft room in no particular order. The pre-draft plan to get Nick's was a success. And now him and Ben DiNucci and whoever Jarrett Stidham, they'll figure it out. Sean Payton told reporters on day 2 of the draft that he bluffed trade talks with Denver's number 12 pick. Remember the audio we played where he spent all day just pretending they were going to move up. I was actively involved in trying to pretend we were moving forward. That's the quote. He fooled the Vikings into throwing away day 3 currency, moving up one spot, and getting J.J. McCarthy. A feather in his cap. You got us again. You got us again, Sean. Very, very tremendous work. Turns out Peyton was actually calling around.
Oh my gosh, above average at that.
The Bears heard from Denver and one other team while on the clock at number 9. It wasn't clear at the time which player Denver was targeting in any potential trade-up or if it even had a target. But the Browns have made clear now that they were all in on Bo Nix. Our guy the whole way, as one source put it. But the Bears indeed received trade calls on draft day from the Denver Broncos as Sean Payton, the elaborate ruse, pretending to move his way forward.
The teams call a lot of teams, and you rarely hear about it. When you do hear about it, and it's leaked or there is source-related terrorism, I wonder what the agenda is by the individuals who share said fact or said subterfuge. And about the only way to lay it out with the Denver Broncos, it's clear they got to find quarterback. 70% on the completion, maybe 72%. I'm sure the ball cuts through the mile-high wind wonderfully. I'm sure he feels the pressure, and it comes naturally to Bo Nix with the way he moves. Yours truly wishes him and the totality of the Denver Broncos organization nothing but immense success moving forward.
Vikes Bites.
Vikes Bites! We've been thinking for weeks that it was an eventuality that this deal with Justin Jefferson would be complete. Kid will have his whole week. We'll celebrate it. Maybe the Wolves are throwing a wrench in the spokes here. Like the Vikings are like, well, now we got to let the Wolves have their day. We got to let the Wolves howl their way into the NBA Finals. So maybe we won't hear about it in July.
Yeah.
Is there any urgency from your standpoint of finding finality and getting this thing done before? I mean, we have rookie minicamp this weekend, and then in a couple of weeks, we're going to have OTAs, and we're going to have mandatory camps and things. And to have that tied up before those things take place, is that a priority for the general manager? Is it better scenario that it's done before? Does it matter?
A couple of things. Alec Lewis, who writes about the Vikings for The Athletic, frequent contributor to the Love Covenant. He'll be in studio 1 hour from now. He just wrote a story about the A topic for the Minnesota Vikings moving forward is locking things up with Justin Jefferson. In given my belief, which really in common thread fashion has been he's not, they're going to sign him. Personally speaking, until I catch wind from the inside or read something significant on the outside that he's frustrated and he's mad and, he's wondering, hey, like what's happening here, then I don't think twice about it. But as it goes to this, as you triggered a thought with me with the NFL because, I thought I was led to believe in very low key fashion the NFL schedule release was going to be tomorrow. Now it's going to be May 15th. But I was thinking, that is so Shield-esque.
Yeah.
When you have, we're in the cornfields. But 6-0 for Fincho. 6-0 for Fincho. So we got things going well here from the NBA front. But so does New York and New York City with the Knickerbockers. And that's the number one media market in the country, maybe the world. Boston, big-time media market. Boston's going great guns. And Dallas is a big market. Dallas is going great guns. I thought it would have been so Shield-esque to just come over the top this week of all that hype with your big schedule release. Oh, wait, is NFL Network even a thing? Has ESPN bought NFL Network yet? Have people been given back their jobs at NFL Network and with the NFL? Is NFL Network even a thing anymore? Maybe that impacts the NFL schedule release. That, too, would be quite Shield-esque. Thanks for Vikes Bites, provided by
Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef.
You've heard the young man on the Power Trip Morning Show, and he's quite vivacious. He's a forward. He's a big man for Ben Johnson's Golden Gophers basketball team. His name is Parker Fox, and he joins 9 to noon to chat hoops and Howl around the corner on KFAN.